Welcome to the Entrepreneur Trip Podcast with X.T.C. I'm Shalonda.
I'm Tristan.
And I'm Chris.
As an entrepreneur starting or growing your business, you may have a destination, but the journey getting there can be a trip. We want to be your travel companions and inject a dose of X.T.C as we explore real-life conversations about navigating the world of entrepreneurship in the U.S. and the Caribbean. Come take this trip with us.
I know, right?
Like I almost traded our opening music for like a Mario. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
We're doing great.
That's great. That's great. And welcome everyone. And thank you for joining us for another week of the entrepreneurship. So this week on this series, what we're going to talk about is networking. Now, everybody usually have their little funny ideas about networking. It's about going out, meeting new people. It is about that. And being an entrepreneur, that's what we do. But, I want to start by simply looking over some notes and telling you guys about what the Forbes list says about networking. But before I start talking for about 30 minutes, Shalana, Chris, y'all got anything to say?
Let's keep this quick. You know, I don't
All right.
like all of this,
Tristan's building it up.
Yeah,
You know it's
I
a workout.
can't take it.
All right, guys. So I'm gonna look at the notes real quick. And 10 important reasons as to why it is we would like to network is one, an exchange of ideas. It is amazing to exchange ideas. A lot of times you run into issues, and we've been saying it from day one about this entrepreneurship and about your entrepreneurship. You're not the only one. So we've created this podcast in which we started to exchange ideas and tell you about some of our experiences so in that way you know you're not alone, right? So one, exchange ideas. Two, make yourself noticeable. Now we got a bunch of entrepreneurs out here that we don't really know are entrepreneurs. So how do you know we're entrepreneurs? Because even if you don't know what Udo does, Sky Group, or Precision, the one thing that you do know is that we started a business about a podcast talking about business. So we've made ourselves noticeable. Can I get a round of applause for that?
Here, hold
All
on.
right.
I'll give you that.
So in creating this business and this podcast, what we did do is create newer opportunities. All right. And that's another reason as to why you also network is to create newer opportunities because sometimes you meet people that need different assistance in different areas and collaboratively we all have it together, but no man has it all by himself. All right. So reassessing qualifications. I could personally tell you about this because I'm in the video realm. I do video production. Chris might be able to tap on it. A matter of fact, Chris and I had this conversation the other day about getting the Sony FX6, the
Oh, yep.
FX9. Right. So again, we were talking about the equipment that we have, just going over the list, and then what it is that we're able to accomplish with and without the equipment that we have.
Yep.
And right there, we were just assessing our qualifications within our video realm, and it was good to know that because I wanted an FX6, and I think he had the FX9. I was like, damn, if I knew you from before, I might have tried to get it from you, but it still turns out my videos look good. There we go. What else do we have? It improves creative intellect. Tapping real quick. I'm gonna go to Sky Group. Shalana is amazing. If you want like color coded calendars, someone to keep you organized, but she doesn't just do it. It's completely creative with how it is that she do it, how she sets her agendas, set up our meetings, set up our team calendar. So I would have never been able to do it without Shalana and even knowing that it was possible without her. And that's creative intellect, making the stuff that we do every day look a lot better. and encourages us to continue to do what it is that we need to do. All right, what else I got? It gives you an extra resource. Again, Chris and our conversation. I do videos in the Virgin Islands. He does videos in, I was going to say Florida, but now he's in Boston.
Yep.
So now if somebody asks me about a videographer on the Northeast side, I know I could always reference Chris. And that's how it goes. So now we have extra resources. I have somebody else, maybe I might want to rent something, and Chris would be able to vouch for me in the sense where he'd be like, okay, we rent this equipment and we could always send it to you, and work it out in that
Yep.
sense. So you always, these are like simple, very basic examples of how networking is important. All right. So what else I got? Support. Oh man, support. I'm not even going to expand too much on that because we had a whole last series where we spoke about how we supported each other in getting this podcast up and running.
Yep.
So if you don't believe in it, check out our last series, and there you'll definitely see our references as to how support works. Growth. What is this? It says growth in status. Okay, so growth in status. A lot of the times we start off in one group. Now, I want you to remember this part of this conversation because on the last 10, we're going to come back to it. The growth and status. So we might start somewhere where you're doing family and friends, but before you know it, you're known throughout your community, your city as a person that's achieving whatever your goals were. So that's your growth in status, self confidence. The more you do something, is the more confident you become in it. If you check out episode one of this podcast compared to now, episode one, I spoke for 15 minutes. Now I'll talk for 30 minutes straight. Don't worry about it. I'm very confident about this. And then the last part of the top 10 is long lasting relationships. We spoke about my commitment issues and a whole bunch of other things. I think it might have been series two. So you know what? Go back, recap, do series two. You know what? Just do one, two, and three. You know, get completely caught up. And then just come back here and you're gonna be like, man, this guy is nuts. But we have created long lasting relationships as an entrepreneur, meeting new people. When you're known for doing something and doing for something well, people continue to call you to work within their network.
Hmm.
Shalana, I met over 10 years ago from doing a simple edit. That's how it started. We did a simple edit, and that's been it. So to this day, we still work together. We even if she has an idea, she's like, Tristan, I was just thinking about. Don't worry about it. I got you. You know, and part of networking that wasn't on the list that speaks to me a lot is bargaining. Everything that you do is not and does not has to be monetary. We go a long way by just helping a friend out. You know, Chris, you need that lens? I got 3 lenses behind me. I got you. Just hold it until we get there, and that's just it. So all of this is a part of our growth, but there are some issues that come with networking. And that's what it is that we don't really hear about. So think about it like you were in class and you're about to do a group project. Chris, what do you hate about group projects?
To be honest, I think it's just
Don't just lie to me. Don't be honest.
It's putting I guess my I have my control issues of putting my work in somebody else's hands to, especially like I'm thinking back in school, I had people not do parts of projects and stuff, and then my grades suffered as a result. So I think it's the trust that you have to build up. But to your point, networking and building those long-lasting relationships based on trust, that's where the group projects become more exciting as entrepreneurs than perhaps it was in school when you were forced into projects. So.
Now you're forced to work with crazier people with crazier ideas. Right, Shalana? Tell us about your fears about, I don't want to say networking, but just working in a group as of right now.
That's an interesting question because I, like Chris, also don't like group projects because I want to make sure that the group does a really good job and produce a quality product. So my grade is not going to suffer for somebody else. But what happens is then I end up doing extra work,
Yep.
which can be very, very exhausting. And as an entrepreneur, particularly if you're a solopreneur and you're doing collaborations with other entrepreneurs, it can be very draining and taxing if you're having to pick up
Yep.
the load for somebody who's not carrying their weight. And I think that's what is
Right.
beautiful about this collaboration is that we all know what our strengths are. We all know who's working on what. And I think it's really clearly outlining. My girlfriend Mercedes always says, you need to clearly define what the value, roles, and
Yep.
expectations are from the very beginning, right? And then reinforce it as you go along. And I think
And
as entrepreneurs, the challenge when we get into networking is one, if you're networking in a space that's not that you're not familiar with, you're having to kind of figure out, okay, what are the elements of this space? Who are the players in this space? And as you meet the players, you're then trying to figure out, okay, is this somebody who is just good to know, right? Casually or as an associate, and to include them as part of my network? Or is this somebody that I can really start to establish more of a meaningful relationship with? Or is it somebody that I can have a long lasting business and personal friendship and relationship with? So the challenge, yeah, networking for me is a very complex construct, only because I'm very much an introvert and I do not like networking, believe it or not. So I'm an imposter extrovert when I have to do networking, because it's like, like for example, the three of us are here, right? You are my boys. I know you guys.
Mhm.
It's easy for me to have a conversation. But if I think that there are like other people listening on this conversation, which is the whole nature of this podcast, like I start to freak out inside, right? I'm like, holy hell, who are all these people listening to this
Right.
conversation? And I'm ready to shut down. So yeah, it's just very complex depending on your personality, depending on the space, depending on the characters, and depending on the group that you're going to be working with.
And
So,
I'll just
Okay.
add, to Shalanda's point, I am the same way. I test as an introvert, but when I'm in networking situations, which I put myself into, it is a conscious decision that you have to do.
mhm,
But even as an introvert, kind of the way I play the trick on my mind is what makes me more anxious than talking to somebody is being like the fly on the wall that it like isn't talking to anybody, because then I feel everybody's looking at me. So that's my way of overcoming and walking into a conversation to be like, well, I don't want to be the odd person standing on the side, so I'm just gonna try to insert myself into a conversation as quickly as possible. But it's funny, Shalanda, I had no idea that you were also an introverted person too, because you're
yep,
always out there talking to people. So that's awesome.
But that's how it is. That's how it is.
yep,
So
yep,
I just want to show you how this network works really quick, right? Before I
hmm
jump into some of the problems. So, one, complex problems have very simple solutions. And our solution is this network, right? Because now Shalana said she was an introvert and yada 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 yada. But through the exchange of ideas,
Trish is
we've
not
just
buying
solved
it.
this problem. And that's it. That I'm just saying. Through our exchange of ideas, look at her now. She just took over my show for 15 minutes and I only got 5 left. Well, yeah, but some of the issues that we're looking at, and you guys did touch it, it's I call it like a slow network, right? So sometimes we get engulfed in these networks and we start friends and we're doing different things. However, when we met them, what we spoke about is the growth of status, right? So we met them, now we started to grow. What we're supposed to do, to me, is now find other networks throughout our group. So you don't ever find a network and be like, oh, this is my be all end all. But once you start to grow, then you're gonna start to realize that we have new needs, right? So I started at doing birthday party videos. Now I'm going to graduate from birthday party videos to maybe graduation videos, to maybe promo videos, to maybe commercials. And that's just it. When you start to grow and move along in this realm, your network has to change because now you're going to find out that you need different things going into these different networks. And the part of how to solve these problems is by networking, finding other people that can cater to what your needs are. All right. So be wary of slow network. Right. The other thing is connectivity issues. All right. You try to connect to the internet, there's always a problem. What the problem is that connectivity. So the cable is in the computer, but that cable is not in the wall. Right. So now we're on yachts and we're talking about cavaliers and yachts because they go well together, right? And I'm not talking about the basketball team, and I'm not talking about that Chevy car either. What it's supposed to be is caviar or caviar. I can't enter inclusions.
Caviar.
It's caviar. The caviar
According to
and
the
yachts,
Real
and that's what it
Housewives of
is.
Beverly Hills, it's caviar.
So that's where it is our connectivity comes in. Sometimes you meet or you join these networks where you, I won't say you don't belong, but you haven't grown to that status as yet. So you're at the door. Don't feel that you have to stay at the door, but at the same time, don't jump all the way in and you're talking about cavaliers instead of caviar on a yacht because it just doesn't work, right? My third issue is exceeding needs. We just spoke about cavaliers and caviars, two different price ranges, right? Chris, what do you guys call it? In the States, it's called Keeping Up with the Joneses.
Mhm.
In the Virgin
Or
Islands,
I guess now
throughout
the
the Caribbean.
Kardashians they took over. So
I was just trying to plug my last name. I didn't. Thank you, Chris, introducing me to a new network. But keeping up with the Kardashians, and in the Caribbean we call it hanging our hat higher than we could reach. Into these networks, you start to do things to try and keep up or be a part of these networks. Well, when you're authentic, when you know the purpose or the reason why you came into the network and you know that you're going to grow, there's no need to force it. Mimicry is a form of flattery. That's what I keep hearing. But you don't want to mimic and burn yourself out. So in that way, you can no longer be a part of that. I don't want to say social status, that social group, that social network that would help you and is supposed to help you to continue to grow. All right. So be careful how you spend your resources in networks.
Mhm.
And the last one is refusal to grow. Right. So sometimes you get someplace, and what ends up happening is that we become very comfortable. You don't realize it sometimes, but we become comfortable and we refuse to move on. So we spoke about being the introverts. Being an introvert does not mean that you refuse to grow. It just means that you might move slowly towards other networks, networks that might not, I don't want to say have interest you as much, um, or you're just more cautious as to how it is you navigate the way that you network. So being an introvert doesn't mean that you don't network or you don't want to network. We just have different types of networking. And my girl Shanana's going to tell you about that next week. So that's the early plug. Just wait, you know. But I just want y'all to think about that for sure. For sure, it's just that we don't want to get into situations where we refuse to grow and their network because sometimes we don't realize that we don't want to push ourselves and they'll be the ones like, Shalanda, this is not even challenging for you anymore. What's up? You know? Chris, when was the last time you did something challenging? And Chris is like, is it really about challenging or just about making the money? And then he's got to find a new network because here's all about challenges. And to wrap up, let me double check, see how we're running on this. I just wanted to touch on bringing the network together. Give us a better understanding and make it a little more difficult because now I'm going to go into tech talk. but relative tech talk within this network. All right. So let's see. Network contributes to your social well being, exchange of ideas, you experience more, and boost confidence. So, one, when you start networking, you're going to meet new people, you're going to try new things. That's more experiences. And what it is that we're supposed to do is that reinforce what it is that we've been doing all the time. So you've been meeting networks. Your friends from kindergarten probably weren't your same friends in first grade. That weren't your friends in second, third, fourth, because you continue to grow. But at the same time, sometimes from those networks, you make lifelong friends. Right, Shalana?
Why are you putting me on this spot? 'Cause I don't have many friends from childhood. It's the introvert in me. At that point, when you're younger, you don't see the value of networking and keeping in touch with people. And we'll talk
Yep.
about this a little bit later with networking, but networking is not I go into a new space, I meet new people, and then you're done, right? It's really about building those mutually beneficial relationships. And I think as younger, because even I have this conversation with my daughter, she'll meet somebody, hang out with them, and that's it.
Yep.
You know, they don't nurture those relationships. And so networking, when we're talking about it, is not just meeting people, but it's really meeting people, identify who aligns, and then really nurturing those relationships.
Yep.
AKA your
Back to you,
connectivity.
Tristan. Before I
Don't worry.
take over again.
I'm waiting for Chris. Once Chris starts, you know the show is done. So what it is that we're accustomed to and putting in network terms, you have a PAN, a LAN, a MAN, and WAN, right? Or one, as we call it.
I want to hear about this man business.
Shalana, you're man one, you know. That's why I don't know. And then
What about
in the
no
Caribbean,
man?
I think about Shalana. No man, me, you're disconnected. Your network has disconnected. It's no longer in service if there's no man in that network. So I want you guys to just think about it really quick. PAN is your personal area network. Usually when you start something, you start a business, it's usually like your close family and friends that really push you to get you together. That kind of identify what it is that you might be really good with. Shalana, it was your daughter. Chris, I have no idea how it is you started doing videos, except it was a disaster, Maria,
Yeah.
right?
Hurricane Maria.
So
Yep.
I'm not sure if that was a close friend or family. I'm not sure how that one go. To every rule, there's exceptions. That might be you. You know, and
No,
then from
I
being
will.
in that,
I will say it was actually from local networks. With I was doing a lot of work within the Puerto Rican community and had built a lot of friends and relationships. So when it was affecting the people closest to me, who I had built relationships with and was networking with, I felt that connection because I had built that personal bond with some of them, and
right.
that's what kind of made me want to actually do something about it more than if I had not done that networking or been part of that network.
I could not have scripted this. So, Shalana, we're going to pound with you, family and friends, and now Chris has just bridged us to the local network, right? So your local network is like your family and friends and friends. So what ends up happening is Chris is Uncle Chris. Uncle Chris will always showing up to the event with a camera. So Uncle Chris can take our pictures. Don't worry about it. So look at how Uncle Chris has now moved on into his community, right? And is now a part of his local network, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the next step is our metropolitan network, right? So, well, is area network. That's your man. Rachel, not your man, but your man. So,
I try to keep up with all this technical stuff. Okay, this is like a different language that I'm learning.
don't
So
worry about it. That's why we
yeah, bear with me.
simplifying it.
Bear with
So the metropolitan, just think about it for us. In the Caribbean, think about it as your island, right?
me.
So now we're known within your island for being the best at whatever it is that you do. If you want this done, everybody know to call Chris. Everybody know Uncle Chris gonna come and take our pictures and run a quick video. Everybody know Shalana gonna keep us organized. And we're known within our community now for doing these duties, providing this service. But we want to take it one step further. And that's where it is we won. All right. WAN, wide area network. Think about being the moguls now, where we don't just want it to be our community, our islands, but we want everybody on a global scale to start to realize this is what it is we do. This is where our network starts to meet other networks, in which now it's completely grown out. Everything is becoming more full circle, right? And this is our goal as networking. We want to continue to meet other networks so in that way, when our name comes up in conversations or somebody's looking for something or has a need, that's the reason why you became an entrepreneur, because there was a need. There was something that you wanted to change. They identified that you're that person that could be that change. All right? That's where it is. My network has won with these two beautiful people. Chris, I want you to bring it home for me. There's a Chinese proverb about eating spaghetti in the rain or something like that.
I don't know if I have a proverb ready. What I will say, to your point, and this is not a proverb, but that networking, to your point of reaching out when your network starts to reach out beyond other networks, it is exponential and it is a snowball effect. And what is it, like the here's a quote. So the first step is the hardest one, right?
Yes.
So you just have to start taking that step, and then it just becomes a lot easier, as because then you have warm leads of people, like you said, hey, oh, you need photos? Well, I have this guy, Chris, or you
Right.
need, you're trying to organize your business and stuff, call Shalonda or what have you. So it's, people to start, you don't have to do those cold leads anymore, which is the hardest ones, when you first walk into
Right.
that networking room. It's getting into that first conversation, and then it kind of makes it easier to people break off, other people come in, so you kind of just start building those networks.
Mm. Solana, any light touches about how your man won? Oh wait, you're from the Caribbean. How does this work? In the Caribbean, is a one man band in this land. Go ahead, Shalana.
Oh, Lord, Harry the Judge. Um, I don't know if I could keep up with a one man pan because I ain't got no man. So it just keeps it simple. But yeah, from a networking standpoint, I think as entrepreneurs, and I like how you started with the family and then you branched out. But I would encourage us as entrepreneurs not to limit ourselves by geography. Yeah, you
Yep.
have your personal network, and your area network is not your island. It could be your region, especially like
It
in the
could be.
States. I mean, in Orlando, when both Chris and I were in Orlando, yeah, we had our personal network. We had a business network that spanned the entire state up
Yep.
the East Coast. And now that he's in Boston and I'm, doing trying to figure out where I'm going to land next, being bi-coastal, that just gives us an opportunity to even expand our network even further. So when I land in Orlando, I have a network that I connect with. When I land in Minnesota, I have another network I connect with. I've cross-pollinated those networks. I got networks
Right.
here in the Virgin Islands and the Caribbean. So now I'm triple pollinating. I'm like a little bumblebee, right? Just going around with the little flowers and trying to pollinate and create networks. So as entrepreneurs, we encourage you to fly and expand and pollinate where there's not cheering. Okay, men. When I said pollinate, I'm talking about networking relationships. I just figured I had to clarify for the Caribbean men. Maybe we're pollinating business relationships.
There we go.
Shalon's got networks in different area codes.
Yes, that's a whole other podcast. I love my Caribbean, but I know them very well. Why? Which is why I got no man. But anyhow,
So thank you
a little
guys.
humor.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you guys so much for being a part of our network. So
Hmm.
we would like you to continue to be a part of our network and definitely tune in next week where everything's going to be a whole lot more authentic with your networking. Right, Shalana?
That's right.
My big brother Chris,
That's
I
right.
love you guys.
Love you
Guys,
guys.
take it easy and see you
Take
soon.
care. Thank you for taking this trip with us. We hope you had a great time. Join us every Tuesday for another dose of X.T.C. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and visit us at theentrepreneurs.trip.com for more entrepreneurship tips and trips. See you next time.